This is Fox-11 News, the Southland's #1 news at 10.
Good evening, everybody. I'm John Beard. Lights and, just as importantly in many cases, air conditioners are back on tonight after a massive and still mysterious power outage cut electricity throughout California and most of the western United States. Tony Valdez joins us live from Santa Monica, one of several Southland cities affected. Tony.
John, the Santa Monica Outlook, the newspaper, the evening press run has been completed, and so tomorrow people are going to be able to read all about the blackout in their newspapers. The Outlook, one of an estimated 10 million commercial, industrial, and residential users of electricity who found themselves blacked out for a time this afternoon. That's what the power outage looked like on paper, and the fact that it resembles an earthquake seismograph reading is appropriate considering the magnitude of the event. Near San Diego, rides shut down at the Del Mar Fair, stranding fun seekers until emergency power could kick in.
I thought that something might have happened, that somebody forgot to pay the bill.
Meanwhile, in Salt Lake City, convenience stores went dark and restaurants locked their doors until power could be restored. Here in Los Angeles, Southern California Edison's Nerve Center detected the problem at exactly 1:24 in the afternoon.
Between the reserves and our emergency generators, it was more than enough to cover the deficiency that we lost coming over those lines from the Pacific Northwest.
The breakdown initially affected 3 power lines feeding 4,000 megawatts of electricity from Oregon into California and 13 other western states. Power companies buy electricity from one another depending on who's got energy to spare and who's got it at the best price, and then deliver it via a network called the Pacific Intertie. Edison was importing about 15% of the electricity for Southern California when the outage hit. The system was back up within 20 minutes. All those traffic signals that went on the blink in the city of Los Angeles at about the same time were not related to the power outage, according to the city's Department of Water and Power.
We're not experiencing anything that's other than routine trouble at the moment. I actually checked with our controlling centers before I came down to ensure there wasn't associated problems that I wasn't aware of.
Considering the heat and the frustration of trying to get through an intersection, Angelenos reacted as they always do to catastrophes, whether it's an earthquake or a power outage.
Oh, it's a mess all the way up and down the boulevard. You have to wait forever on these things. Ventura Boulevard just isn't meant for stop signs, and these things are all turning into stop signs, you know? It's crazy.
Still no definitive word at this hour concerning the exact cause of that outage. The 11 power companies that make up the Pacific Intertie are going to be comparing data over the next couple of days. They say it'll take at least that long to figure out what really happened. Reporting live from Santa Monica, I'm Tony Valdez. Back to you in the studio.
Such a bizarre incident, Tony. Thanks for your report. Here at home, 7 years after they shotgunned their parents, Lyle and Erik Menendez are finally heading to state prison. They have been given life sentences with no chance of parole. Barbara Schroeder says the sentencing was a day of closure for the brothers and many others involved in this case.
Is anything I need to be here to see it completed, to see that it really ends the way it's supposed to.
Several jurors showed up on their own time. They wanted some closure to the 6-month retrial. It was, as everyone expected. Judge Stanley Weisberg sentenced Lyle and Erik Menendez to life in prison, no chance of parole.
It is a personal victory, and I think it's a victory for justice as well.
Certainly a victory for the Los Angeles County criminal justice system.
Prosecutors savored their victory as Erik Menendez's attorney, Leslie Abramson, said she'd already filed an appeal that most agree is a long shot.
It will never be over for me because I will never sever my ties to Erik Menendez or Lyle Menendez or their family. We are a large extended family now. I have no desire to terminate my relationship with any of those wonderful people. And so the legal part is over. But the human part continues.
As for inside the courtroom, Lyle and Erik sat pretty quietly while the judge pronounced sentence. At the end, when Lyle walked out, he actually turned to wave to people who were sitting behind him, including his intended bride, Anna Erickson. Their wedding plans are on hold now. Anna wouldn't talk about them or anything else. Anna, how do you feel right now?
Sorry, I can't comment.
As for family, Jose Menendez's sister, Teresita Baralt, was weeping after the sentencing. Still teary-eyed in this exclusive video of her leaving today, she said off camera she expects to be crying the rest of her life. One juror said she had little pity for the brothers and little pity for their parents.
If they could do it over, they would raise their children differently.
But she said we did a great job for justice. But as another juror put it is such a horrible way to have to learn such a tragic lesson.
It's hard to come out of the trial with one, statement like, don't kill your parents, because that's a given. But if you're going through problems in your life with your family, you have to try to seek help at all costs.
In Van Nuys, Barbara Schroeder, Fox-11 News.
Still unclear which prison will get the Menendez brothers, if they'll be put in separate institutions, and whether Lyle will ever hear wedding bells. Jane Yamamoto has more on that part of the story.
30-year-old Anna Erickson left the courtroom after learning that the man she loves will spend the rest of his life behind prison bars. Now the questions are buzzing. What will happen to the jailhouse romance? Will they get married? If so, where, when, and where will the brothers go? Will they be together? Experts for the prosecution say the brothers should be separated.
And I was concerned about them conspiring to commit crimes within the facilities that they're housed in.
And this is just an attempt, a last-ditch attempt by the prosecution to inflict even greater punishment on them than what the law prescribes.
But officials at the State Department of Corrections says it's still too early to predict whether the brothers will be together or not.
There have been situations where family members have been placed in the same institution. There's also situations where we don't put crime partners together.
The brothers will be sent to a level 4 state institution, which is a maximum state prison. But first, the two will spend time in a reception center similar to this one, where they will be evaluated. The process should take about 4 to 6 weeks. Then a decision will be made where the brothers are housed. And the clock is ticking on whether older brother Lyle Menendez will tie the knot with Erickson while he remains in the county jail. It would have to happen before he's taken into state custody or after he's settled into prison. Although it's still uncertain whether wedding bells will ring for Lyle Menendez and his fiancée, one thing is certain: if the two ever were to become husband and wife, they would never be able to consummate their marriage behind prison walls. The restriction on conjugal visits would be because of the sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. In downtown Los Angeles, Jane Yamamoto, Fox-11 News.
Rodney King is back in court, and so is his wife, in an alleged case of spousal abuse. The charge stems from an incident in Alhambra last year when the Kings got into an argument. King ordered his wife out of their car and knocked her over when he drove off. He says it was an accident. Crystal King told jurors she suffered head and arm injuries but refused to file a complaint against her husband because she loves him. The couple is now separated, and King has filed for divorce. King's attorney claims Mrs. King has been trying to get money from her husband, who won a multi-million-dollar lawsuit with the city of Los Angeles over his beating in 1991. A convicted killer didn't help the sentencing portion of his case after going on a courtroom rampage.
We find the defendant.
Wayne Coffin sprang from his chair as the verdict was read and made a beeline for the prosecutors. He was wrestled to the ground and eventually taken out of the courtroom. The judge says jurors can take the outburst into account during sentencing deliberations. Coffin could get the death penalty.
Twin brother and sister slugging it out to their mother's violent orders, and it's all on videotape. A Michigan couple claims it's discipline. The DA says it's child abuse. Ed Garston has a story and the disturbing videotape.
For 11 agonizing minutes, 6-year-old twins Carrie and Gary Downs punch, flail, pull each other's hair, all under the strident direction of their mother, Talisa, whose voice you hear in the background.
I told you what to do, now do it. Bring him down. If he kicks your ass, I'm kicking yours. You better punch them fist harder, girl. What happened? They want to fight?
Finally, the father who is shooting the video orders an end to the violence, but not before little Gary's nose is bloodied.
All right, stop it, Lisa, stop it.
Now, Gary and Talisa Downs stand accused of 2 counts of child abuse and 1 of extortion for forcing the children to fight. At their preliminary hearing, the detective on the case says the parents told him it was all an exercise in learning good behavior.
Ms. Downs stated that the reason for making the tape was for a learning tool to deter the children, the twins, from their constant picking on each other and fighting.
A noted psychologist described it more graphically.
I would characterize it very much like a cockfight.
A disgusted Judge Sherman Fonts quickly ordered the couple to stand trial and continued their $250,000 bond. But one defense attorney says the case has been blown out of proportion.
No, it's not criminal. It is not criminal at all. What it is a bad disciplinary act.
Ed Garston, Warren, Michigan.
A woman brutally raped and beaten last month in New York Central Park has moved to a rehabilitation center where she will continue her recovery. The 32-year-old piano teacher is now walking and talking on her own after being in a coma for 2 weeks. The assault in broad daylight shocked New Yorkers for its brutality and because it took place in a nice section of the park. It was the first in a series of attacks on women that a 22-year-old man has now confessed to.
Tonight, firefighters are making headway in the battle against fires that are scorching Idlewild. Al Nipo has been at the scene all day. He joins us live now with an update. Al, what's the situation out there?
Christine, there is good news from the fire line tonight here in the San Bernardino National Forest. The fire is about 60% contained, and authorities say if everything holds, they forecast full containment in the next 24 to 48 hours. The winds, higher humidity, and cooler temperatures gave firefighters the break they needed to gain headway against the ravenous blaze that devoured nearly 10,000 acres.
You don't see a lot of long flame lengths. You don't see it moving forward. So we call it laying down.
And that's a good thing.
Yes, very, very good.
1,700 firefighters continue to battle the blaze, which threatens homes in Idlewild and Pine Cove, two mountain communities whose 5,000 residents and vacationers were ordered to evacuate Monday. Firefighters stand guard in front of homes nearest the fire line in case the blaze advances. It's round-the-clock duty for firefighters from throughout California, pitching in to bring an end to the fire sparked by a bullet from a target shooter.
None of the homes burned. We have lost no structures, not even any outbuildings. No one has been hurt. We had 4 minor injuries, nothing really bad. We were just so fortunate, and the guys just worked really hard, and it was really great.
Here tonight is the threat of thunderstorms for this area, which are forecast, and while that may bring some rain, the danger is that it also may bring lightning that could touch off an even far worse fire, and that is what has a lot of the firefighters here tonight very concerned. And meanwhile, the evacuation order remains in effect here in Idlewild and Pine Cove. Reporting live from the San Bernardino National Forest, I'm Al Nipo. Now back to you. John, Christine.
All right, Al, thanks a lot. So how hot and volatile will it be tomorrow? Let's check in with Mark Thompson for a look at first weather. Mark.
Hot enough to produce thunderstorms for yet another day, John, and I suspect that same development, the tropical moisture during the afternoon hours, will form thunderstorms, mountain and desert regions most certainly. This is what it looked like this afternoon at 4:45, and you can see now that with evening cooling, some of that activity has begun to disperse. Still, a continued tropical moisture flow through the next couple of days will likely produce that, I suspect, in the mountain and desert areas, certainly in through the 4th of July. By the way, it will continue to swelter in the inland valleys as well. We'll talk more about that when I rejoin you around 10:30.
All right, Mark, see you soon. The fallout from the arrest of militia members in Arizona could reach a courtroom right here in L.A. We'll have that story next.
Also, the coroner's office tries to unravel a tragic mystery. What caused the death of actress Margaux Hemingway?
And actor Christopher Reeve is going back to doing what he does best.
Fox-11 News, brought to you by McDonald's of Southern California. Have you had your break today?
Hungry for the good things, baby. Hungry through and through. I'm hungry for McDonald's, baby. And nothing else will do.
Now at McDonald's, you can get a delicious Big Mac or a morning fresh sausage McMuffin with egg for just 99 cents each. And it's as easy as zipping in and zipping out.
I can almost taste it.
Two escaped convicts
Sure, I didn't run in the first place. When people started shooting at me, I run.
are about to form a partnership
We married, baby.
based on close friends,
These people are trying to kill you.
mutual acquaintances,
My house. Go, drive.
But I'm warning you, it's messy.
and $25 million.
I won't have. Where the hell did you get a key for the cuffs?
My ex-husband, he's a cop.
Fled, rated R, starts Friday, July 19th at theaters everywhere.
It's designed to work in outer space, but it means work right here on Earth. Firing up the Southland workforce. Coming up on Fox-11 News.
The key to success inside the ring is to always stay in control. The same is true outside the ring, especially when it comes to drinking. Staying in control means knowing when to say when, So if you drink, please drink responsibly. Remember, friends know when to say when.
A message from Budweiser and Oscar de la Hoya.
John Beard, Christine Devon, Mark Thompson Weather, and Rick Garcia Sports. Fox 11 News at 10.
Tonight, new information on Monday's raid by federal agents on so-called Viper militia groups in Phoenix, Arizona. Police specialist Rod Bernson says the fallout from the Arizona arrests reaches into an L.A. courtroom.
For the second day, federal agents in Arizona seized armloads of weapons and barrels of explosive chemical fertilizer from the homes of suspected members of the so-called Viper Militia. 10 men and 2 women were arraigned on federal charges of planning to blow up government buildings. And the shockwaves from this case are being felt in a courtroom in Los Angeles.
I think many jurors who drove to court today heard stories of the Viper Militia time and time again on the radio as they drove to court.
David Evans is the lawyer for one of the defendants in the Elizabeth Broderick case. She and 3 others are facing 30 counts of conspiracy and fraud. She's been linked to the anti-government Montana Freeman.
Many Americans harbor anti-government sentiments, and that does not make them criminals. I'm deeply concerned that they will be tarred with the same brush as the militia.
Evans doesn't want his client, Julian Cheney, linked to Elizabeth Broderick or any militia group. But his motion for a separate trial was denied.
We're forced in a position of frankly hiding under counsel table when the government's evidence is almost entirely against Mrs. Broderick and very, very little against the co-defendants. My client, I believe, is innocent, and his right to a fair trial is being endangered by a joint trial.
And now the added concerns about the Broderick case from the Antelope Valley being joined in the jurors' minds to the Viper case from Arizona, where federal agents have seized 600 pounds of the same explosive fertilizer used in the Oklahoma City bombing, where one federal official says there is new proof that terrorism has come to the United States. In Los Angeles, Rod Bernson, Fox 11 News.
A week after the Saudi Arabia bombing, several injured U.S. airmen made the trip home today. 13 Americans arrived at Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland. The injured will stay there overnight before returning to their home bases. Congress says it's going to conduct hearings on alleged security lapses in Saudi Arabia. The State Department assured Americans that it will find and punish the terrorists responsible, no matter how long it takes.
We will find them. They're not going to get away with this. There is too much evidence left behind at the scene to allow them to get away with it.
The State Department also announced a $2 million reward for information leading to the arrest of those responsible for the bombing. Saudi officials are already offering a $3 million reward.
Investigators say they have found no signs of trauma or foul play in the death of Margaux Hemingway. The actress had a history of seizures caused by epilepsy and may have died from natural causes. Adrian Marr has more on Hemingway's troubled life and career.
The cause of death of the 41-year-old actress and former model remained a mystery. And although friends and neighbors last saw her alive just 3 days ago, police say her body was so decomposed she could only be identified through dental records. Police have ruled out foul play, and early indications show no evidence of suicide. Her neighbor, Pensri Jarvis, saw her last week.
She looks a little bit spacey. Like, it's very, not herself, like a walk without destination, just kind of floating and walking. I think she's perhaps something in her mind that tried to solve or something. Just look unhappy.
Hemingway's body was found here at her Santa Monica apartment by friends late Monday. When they came to visit, they found the door locked. Her friends then climbed a ladder to this second story and saw Hemingway's lifeless body lying on her bed.
Hemingway had moved into a studio at the back of this house only a few weeks ago. Though she was in the neighborhood for only a short time, some here say she seemed troubled.
A friend, Mark Stern, saw her last week at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Walking on the beach, and I came up the street, and then she was sitting in her car, and she said, and I was talking to her, and she said, "Shh, Mark, I'm okay."
Noted, and I should have known better.
In 1976, Hemingway made her movie debut in Lipstick, co-starring with her sister Mariel. She first gained celebrity as a model in the mid-70s, but as her fame and acting roles began to fade in the mid-80s, Hemingway turned to drugs and alcohol. In 1988, she spent a month at the Betty Ford Center. Police say at this point it's possible she died of natural causes, but they are still investigating. In Santa Monica, Adrian Marr, Fox News.
In South Los Angeles, a suspected child molester is behind bars tonight. Police say James Netherly allegedly broke into a house, abducted a 4-year-old girl, and molested her. Family members and neighbors who went searching for the girl spotted the suspect, chased him down, and beat him. When police arrived, they found Netherly chained to a table at a nearby restaurant. Police in Hollywood shot and killed a suspected prostitute after she allegedly tried to run them down with their own car. The 35-year-old woman, whose identity has not been released, had been left alone handcuffed inside the police car while officers were questioning a man who was with her. The woman managed to get out of the handcuffs or shift them around. She got into the driver's seat and began driving towards the police. One officer was struck and slightly hurt before the woman was killed.
President Clinton is fighting fire with funds in an effort to stop a rash of church fires. The president plans to dedicate $6 million in federal funds to prevent future fires. The money will be used to hire more police officers in high-risk areas in 12 different states. Elsewhere in Washington, leaders from across the U.S. gathered for a hate crimes summit.
This summit sends a message to those responsible for the church arsons that we will not tolerate the domestic terrorism that has plagued our sacred places of worship.
Suspicious fires have burned 40 black churches in the past 18 months, mostly in the South.
They had never met face to face, even though their showdown 33 years ago was a key moment in the civil rights movement. But today, former Governor George Wallace of Alabama met with James Hood. In 1963, Wallace vowed he would stand in the schoolhouse door rather than allow Hood and another black student to enroll at the University of Alabama. Wallace now says that at the time he thought segregation was politically correct, but no longer feels that.
I'm not racist. I'm a Christian. I love all people, black, white, yellow, and brown. As a Christian, you can't dislike people because of color. All of them people are God's children.
Hood, who says he forgave Wallace long ago, will receive his doctoral degree from the University of Alabama next month. And Wallace says he hopes to be able to attend that ceremony.
It is the next big step for the space program, and it has workers in Southern California flying high. Next on Fox-11 News, the new spacecraft that will create thousands of jobs in the Southland.
And a 3,000-year-old recipe could someday have beer drinkers saying, "This tut's for you."
Bonds really is a value, and now we're going to prove it every time you check out. Look at the bottom of your receipt.
Now it shows how much you save with ad specials.
Look again for the Bonds Club discounts.
Over 1,500 every week.
See how much you save with double coupons.
And more buys.
Bet you didn't know you saved that much.
Only one store is so confident, it gives itself a report card every time you shop. It's Bonds.
We blindfold our customers. That way, they won't see our dirty restrooms, or that there are no paper towels and no squeegees, or what a hassle it is to pay, and that we have really long lines.
I see. What do you want from your gas station? Blindfolds or the basics, like squeaky clean restrooms? 76, we get it.
It's the most feared creature in the water. It has no predator. Nothing is safe from it. And now, it is coming toward you, and it wants to play. Shamu Backstage. It's the most exciting new feature in SeaWorld history. Come visit the park before Labor Day and get a second day free. Shamu Backstage. The thrills don't get any bigger.
This is a Kaufman and Broad home. It's not like any home you've ever seen before. Look at all the light and space in here. Kaufman and Broad has been building with new ideas for nearly 40 years. Take a look this weekend.
Make the Kaufman and Broad house call and find out how much home you can afford right over the phone. You'll also receive a free credit report when you call 1-800-34-HOMES.
The United States is getting a new spacecraft, while thousands of folks in the Southland will be getting new jobs. John Schwada has more of the announcement that brings the future to Los Angeles.
Congratulations to the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works.
With those words, Vice President Al Gore in Pasadena announced the award of a nearly $1 billion contract to build an unmanned spacecraft called the X-33. If this experimental vehicle works, it could become the model for a fleet of similar but manned craft to replace the nation's aging and expensive space shuttle fleet.
America will one day have a revolutionary new reusable launch vehicle that could be sent into space as often as twice a month.
The winners in the competition to build the X-33, Lockheed Martin and California's economy.
This announcement today and the X-33 will mean some 2,000 new jobs right here in California.
The News Bridge political foes. Republican Congressman Buck McKeon represents the Antelope Valley, where the X-33 will be built.
It's fantastic news. We really need the jobs out there, but I think it shows the Skunk Works once again is on the leading edge.
National Aeronautics and Space Administration Chief Dan Golden said the X-33 vehicles will eventually carry valuable commercial payloads into space, like communication satellites. The X-33 program is supposed to revolutionize space travel, but the Clinton administration probably also hopes that it will provide them with political mileage here in California. All those jobs, quite a political payload for the X-33 to carry. In Los Angeles, John Schwada, Fox-11 News.
First Lady Hillary Clinton's Eastern European trip continued today with a visit to the Auschwitz concentration camp. Mrs. Clinton says the lessons of Auschwitz should never be forgotten. She appeared visibly shaken during parts of the tour, calling the camp cold, rational evil. The First Lady says Auschwitz shows why people must stand up on behalf of human rights and tolerance.
Bob Dole and wife Elizabeth brought their presidential campaign to the Southland tonight. The Republican candidate attended a Victory 96 dinner in Century City. The Doles arrived in Los Angeles this afternoon, and during his speech tonight, Dole reiterated his commitment to California.
If anybody doubts our commitment to California, let me say again, why would we have our convention in San Diego if we didn't care about California?
The Doles are planning to attend a brief book signing tomorrow at an LA bookstore before they leave town.
Our roaming bear's excellent adventure comes to an end. Still to come tonight, he left his home in Florida and headed west until wildlife officials put a detour in his travel plans.
And it takes more than water to put out a raging wildfire. We'll take it to the front lines and show you some of the weapons firefighters are using.
Introducing the new MGD largemouth can. All the cold filtered taste of Miller Genuine Draft in a can that opens wider so it refreshes quicker. The new MGD largemouth can. Stay cool.
Let's see what you bought at Lucky this week. Got chips, oats.
Why are you looking in my basket?
You know, you missed some really great buys that are featured on TV as we speak.
Like what?
Like, Stephanie.
Like Miller or Coors Beer, 12-pack, $4.99, limit 4. Boneless beef ribeye steaks, max pack, $2.97 a pound. And fresh white corn in the husk, new crop, 15 cents each.
Will you watch my cart while I run back inside?
For some women, a routine mammogram can be a lifesaver. New information on stopping breast cancer in its tracks. Coming up on Fox-11 News.
I don't know what the story is. A garage is made for the car. Why do dogs and all the junk from the house live in the garage? Why is that? Everybody on the whole street's like that. There's nothing in there that anybody's used in at least 5 years. And what's even worse is I don't even get the high-octane fuel that I'm designed for. Like Chevron Supreme with Techron. You're just like, you're nothing.
No premium outperforms Chevron Supreme with Techron. Chevron, simply smarter.
It's a pathetic existence, you know.
Cable guy! Carrie.
You might want to put on a bathing suit.
Is back.
Because you'll be channel surfing in no time.
And this summer, he's gonna hook you up, turn you on,
All right already!
and rock your world.
Don't you
Jim Carrey, Matthew Broderick, the Cable Guy.
I'm just messing with you.
Rated PG-13. At theaters now.
You're watching Fox-11 News at 10.
An Oregon boy once hailed as a hero for waking up people in an apartment fire now faces charges of murder. 8 people died in the blaze, 5 of them children. 11-year-old Ray DeFord told reporters he was awakened by the fire and alerted his family. Police will not say why they suspect the boy. Arson investigators have determined the fire was set at an entrance, trapping many of the victims. Several people were hurt jumping from balconies on the 2nd and 3rd floors. Bad news may be in the mail for young men in Portland. Letters telling them they will be on a list of criminal gang members for the next 4 years. This list replaces one a judge disallowed for not giving those on it the chance to respond. It gives recipients a chance to correct any misconceptions and could give some the push to move away from gangs. But some former gang members wonder how the list will affect them. They are former
Like me,
gang
I want to be a
members.
chef. And if I end up on the gang list, that's going to ruin a lot of things for me.
Everybody was getting accused of being a gamer. But now they give you a chance to prove that you are a gamer or you're not a gang member.
Right now, there are just 20 names on that list.
Up in the San Jacinto Mountains, hundreds of firefighters are working around the clock to keep life and property safe. Bernard Gonzalez visited with some of those heroes today.
Get to the end here and see if you can skirt around that hill. There's a lot more to fighting a fire, especially a wildland fire, than hoses and water. It takes tractors and pilots and just plain hard workers, an effort shared by young and old, male and female.
The hand crew is at the heart of the firefighting effort. Without their physical labor, the fire pretty much just does what it wants.
This unit is the Blue Ridge Hotshots out of northern Arizona. They're one of the scores of hand crews whose job it is to clear fire breaks before the flames have their way.
How long can you work at one time up there?
We did a 24-hour shift. I mean, you can stay up there. You know, you got to drink a lot of water because it's hot too.
How much do you weigh?
117 pounds.
How much gear are you carrying?
About 35.
35 pounds, about a third of your body weight.
But not a hindrance for this hotshot.
I'm pretty strong, even though I'm little.
And then there's 77-year-old Frank Gorsney. Frank's been fighting fires around Idlewild for 40 years, and this one's the biggest he's seen up here. But like most firefighters, there's no quit in him. Like Winston said, we'll fight them from the rooftops, the hedges, and the beaches. We won't give up.
And it's that spirit and cooperation between the 1,400-plus firefighters from around the state that give everyone hope that the worst, the destruction of life and property, can be avoided. In Idlewild, Bernard Gonzalez, Fox-11 News.
Heroes indeed, but how'd you like that job with all the heat? Tough,
the heat,
tough job.
The low humidities, just nothing's working really in favor of the firefighters in a big way. In fact, we mentioned this a couple of days ago, the lightning strikes can touch off the fire because we're getting them minus the moisture. The air mass is so dry close to the ground that by the time the water droplets get close to the ground, they're not there anymore. They evaporate. So not too good. Boy, can I show you something, Mother Nature on a horrible grand scale across the globe in China. This is just, when I saw this video come down the line, I just thought, this is the torrential rains. This is not a typhoon. This is just relentless rains in this region. 51 have lost their lives, thousands evacuated, and look at all the damage. These were streets and fields, and now they are covered with water. That's the situation in China. Closer to home, it's the heat we have to deal with. Nothing on as grand a scale, but readings again inland hit the 100s today. 90 downtown, and we will continue, I should say, to broil right through the 4th of July weekend, down modestly toward the end of the week, but that's about it. 64 right now at the brand new Fox weather facility. Humidity is 70%, winds are southwest at 6, and the barometer is 29.85. An incredible facility indeed. This is the new satellite picture. Downloaded, and let me show you over the last 24 hours the tropical flow. You see during the morning hours, very little there, but with daytime heating and a lifting of the air mass, That tropical moisture produces thunderstorms. That will continue to be the case. By the way, this is an inevitable pattern. We get it every summer, and I thought it interesting that we haven't really seen it crop up in a big way until the last day or so. And now that it's here, it will likely continue for the next couple of days. The fog has returned, and some high clouds will return as a result of this as well. It is thunder shower activity in the mid-Atlantic states and also in the desert Southwest that really frames the entire picture. Here it is in the mid-Atlantic states if you're journeying east for 4th of July weekend. And as we pass through the Gulf states, you can see it pretty well clears out till you get to the desert Southwest. And this is all that desert thunder shower activity in Arizona, New Mexico, and back into California in the mountains and deserts. Watch for it again tomorrow. Air quality, I suspect, will be unhealthful. In fact, health advisories are posted for some of the inland valleys. You can see moderate air quality generally as you make it back toward the coast. Quickly want to update Tropical Storm Christina. Sorry, Christine Devine, but it had to happen. Tropical Storm Christina, winds near 70 miles an hour, just below hurricane strength. So it is pounding the Mexico coast. This is Acapulco here, and with it just 70 miles offshore, they're expecting 5 to 10 inches of rain along mainland Mexico. This could be a force to be reckoned with. In fact, it is likely to achieve hurricane strength by the time.